What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of NJ Healthy Heat, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Matthew Della Rosa, and today is a special one for me. I'm super excited. I've got my longtime friend from Round Rock, Texas. We grew up together playing on the same baseball field. We went to Cooperstown together, and now he's a current coach over at Charleston Southern. He's played JUCO baseball, he's played Division I baseball, and now he's working his way through the coaching route. So without further ado, Kirby McGuire from Round Rock, Texas, my long-term best friend from childhood, man. Excited to get talking about all things baseball and all things college and recruiting and all that good stuff. So what's up, dude? Tell people
Yeah, dude.
about you and everything that they need to know.
Yeah, you said it. Well, grew up in Round Rock with you, man, and well, you were Cedar Park, but we've been friends for a long time, and you we were both good ball players growing up, and shoot, man, you got drafted. I was so proud of you and followed your pro career, and now, man, you're doing it big on the content game, and so I'm excited to get on the pod with you, and like you said, I've been coaching. This is my, I think, ninth year going into it. Been
Dang,
at a lot
bro.
of different stops.
We're getting
So
old. That's crazy.
yeah, getting old. But man, excited to hop on and talk some ball, talk some recruiting, all that stuff.
Definitely.
So
Definitely, man. Well, before we get into college recruiting, I kind of want to talk about your playing career. Most people that I bring on here have had their own playing career, and you're able to speak firsthand on that. Coming out of high school, you were a very, very good baseball player, but I don't think you'll be offended by saying this. Like you didn't really have the size that maybe like you needed to go play Division I baseball, but then somehow you found your way into Division I baseball at under 6 foot, which is like for most people out there, they think like, oh, you have to have this huge size in order to go play. Like, walk me through how somebody gets to Division I baseball, and kind of walk through like where your body type was out at that time, because you got much bigger, much stronger. All of that helped, but you went on to play Division I baseball. I did not, and I was six
yeah,
one, 6'2". Like, it didn't really help.
yeah. Well, I think I wasn't ready by my going into my junior year. I was not ready. I played football all 4 years in high school, which definitely helped me. Got stronger, faster, and then by like my senior summer, so the summer going into my senior year, I think I was, you know, I guess strong enough and fast enough to at least be on people's radar. I was also kind of like a high IQ guy, instinctive,
Definitely. Shout out John
and
McGuire.
yeah, and definitely knew the game. And I think I played the game the right way. That's the organization that we played in, that we were talking pre-pod, taught us how to play the game the right way, and you just hustled around and executed stuff. And I think scouts probably liked coming and seeing us play. And then when it takes one team, takes one guy to like you. So I found myself in with that opportunity. I found I got to go to the University of New Mexico out of high school, and then obviously things happened, but I did get that opportunity to go there. So
Yep. So going into like senior year, junior year, you're starting to we're starting to play on the same circuit together. I don't know if we were on the same team at that time, but that's right around you're younger, so like you were probably on those teams. But um, you are starting to get conversations going into your senior year, or like when does conversation start for you?
well, I don't know if you remember when we were going through the process. July 1st, going into your senior year, was like the first time you could talk to coaches. And I remember I had like three schools call me that day: Texas
Dang.
State, New Mexico, and like some other school. Uh, and then it just kind of weeds out. You know how it goes. But yeah, I had conversations, man. I didn't really like the process either. Like, I was eager to make a decision. Like, I wasn't really in love with like kind of figuring out where I wanted to go. I wanted I wanted to know quicker rather than later. So uh, I ended up making a decision. You know, probably if you wait a little longer and you go through the fall and stuff, you might land somewhere else. But I kind of was eager to get it done, and I had an opportunity, so I took it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough choice. I'm working with a handful of kids now who are, getting offers or like getting in the early conversations with some schools, and they're getting on like some time clocks, and they're just going into their junior year, and so they're waiting, or they're making decisions that maybe they don't necessarily need to be making at this point in their career. But it's also like, if you don't make the decision in time, that opportunity might come and go. So how would you speak to families and players that are maybe in that situation where like you're up against an offer, but maybe it's not the right offer for you right now, and like that's not the school that you want, but you don't want to risk letting that go by and not getting the opportunity either from the schools that you want, and maybe this is the best opportunity. How do you weigh that?
I think you got to get everybody involved, your mom and dad, cousins, uncles, whoever's helping you make decisions as a kid, and get it all out and on the table. And I think you're trying to make a decision based on the program, but like the people as well. So like if you don't feel good about the people that are communicating with you on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis, from a recruiting standpoint, then it might not be the best place for you. We try here at Charleston Southern, we try to make it feel like a family, or and we have multiple coaches call each recruit, and it seems like when you get down to business, like you've had to release a relationship with us as coaches. So I think that's important. But then also financially, like people make decisions financially. I set aside money I can pay for school, or I can't pay for anything. I have to take out a loan. So that also comes into play too. Like and now NIL and rev share and all that stuff now is getting thrown around too. So that's another. I don't know how I would. I don't know about you, but if I was 16, 17 years old and I got offered, I don't know, $20,000 to play baseball, like, I mean, how do you turn that down?
Gone.
You know what I mean? And it's getting crazy. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good, well thought out answer. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of conversations until you're numb in the face, and that's one thing as a player myself that I'm trying to like really understand when I'm working with these kids now, is like I hated going through the process as well. It's always like, hey, this is Matt, he's a baseball player, he's going through the recruiting process, oh, how's that going? And so every conversation you have at that point in your life is just revolving around where are you going to school, and like that can get really
Right.
monotonous, and like it can maybe frustrate you a little bit. But yeah, I think just more conversations, even though that's sometimes can be bad.
Right.
All right, so you go to New Mexico State, and then you end up at McLennan, and then you end up at Missouri. Walk us through that, 3 years, three different coaching staffs, three different programs, how it all ebbs and flows. And if it's something that, like, looking back on your career, you liked to play at three organizations, or you wish you would have gone just one and stuck it out, like, walk us through kind of that time in your life.
Well, first off, you made the most common mistake everybody makes for me. It's New Mexico. So, and even when I was
Not me.
there, people, no, even when I was there, people were like, "How's New Mexico State? How's it going?" Like, no, it's like it's UNM, in Albuquerque. But oddly enough, I don't know if you know this, but I actually my freshman year I started opening day,
Yeah.
um, and so some things had to happen for that to happen, like injury and the matchup played. But I got to start opening day. I played in like 38 games. I felt like they were trying to move on from me at that point, and they took my scholarship, and I ended up still going back because I really at the time didn't want to go to junior college, and went to the Northwoods League, played in 64 games, got like 250 at bats, felt like I
We played each
developed, and
other
then
that year.
went back. And well, you remember we were in the league. You were, I
Together.
think you were in Green Bay
Yeah.
that summer. Yeah, so we played against each other in the Northwoods that summer, and we stayed. Me and you stayed, and that's kind of rare nowadays. But me and you stayed the whole summer, till the very end, and then went back to school and ended up getting cut at semester and forced to go to junior college at that point. And I just feel like when your back's against the wall and you got a limited time to figure things out, because at that point, you know how it is in junior college, a lot of recruiting happens in the fall. and then half my team was committed by the season starting. I'm just now getting started on the process, and so there's a lot of pressure there, and I end up having like my best season I've ever had playing at McLennan, and we end up losing in the national championship game in Grand Junction, and I had like 12 offers at that point from Division One schools, so it worked out for me. Let's just say that, and then I chose Missouri because I really liked the coaches, and the facilities were awesome, and it was the SEC. I got to play in the best conference at the time, and still is. But um, that was the opportunity I wanted to take on, and so I did. And then I had a pretty good career. Ended up
Yeah,
working
dude.
out.
Bro, that's so sick, dude. I mean, like multiple D1s. Obviously, I always knew you could play ball. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little jealous because I wanted to go play D1 too, and I was like, damn, this dude's at Missouri. Um, how do you go from you know to McLennan, from McLennan getting cut to McLennan to Missouri? Like, what happens
Yeah.
in your mind? Is anything in your training changed? You put on size. Like, what happens? Is it just being in a different environment, back up against the wall, like you said? Like, walk us through how you were able to turn that potentially career-ending move to playing 2 more years of Division I baseball.
Right. Well, I think everybody sometimes benefits from a change of scenery. I think sometimes when you go from school to school, just a different environment helps. I think that helped a little bit, but I also, like I said, that the back was against the wall. Like I had to make a decision. Like, do I want to continue to play this game, or do I just want to give up? And I think I changed my mentality a little bit, where I was more eager to every single day mattered more than when I was at New Mexico. So like I had like a complete change of mentality, and then when you do that, the game rewards you when you work the right way, and I think that was a lot of it. Not that I didn't work hard my first year, year and a half of college, but I really had to work hard, and I think that was really the biggest thing. And I figured some things out. Like hitting is hard, and when you figure some things out and you feel good and the confidence is going, like it makes the game a lot easier. So
Yeah, and
that's
a
what
lot more
that's what
fun.
happened.
And a lot more fun. What was it like playing for a national championship, man?
It was fun, man, and oddly enough, we were the 8th seed going into the regional. So I know you played at Cisco, correct? Is that no?
I attended Cisco. I think saying that I played at Cisco is a very big
Okay,
stretch because I got 8 total innings there. So
yeah.
I went there.
So right, but like so that region, that conference matched up with like the other region,
Yep.
and so the top 4 teams played the top 4 teams. We were the 8th seed, so we were literally the last team in the regional tournament, and we ended up winning the regional tournament. So like we were kind of like a Cinderella team a little bit, and got hot at the right time. We had some pitching kind of step up at the right time, and we ran out of pitching. To be completely honest, like we got to the national championship game, and like we had to go through the losers bracket, and we were crawling in, and like we thought we could win. Like we didn't believe that we believed we were gonna win, but once we got down by a decent amount, it was like, dang, like we were really close, and it
Yeah.
just didn't work out. But we got there, man. It was I mean, and Grand Junction is awesome. We played in front of like 12, 13,000 people every game, and that's
Yeah.
you got to experience that, man. At some point, it's a really good baseball experience.
Yeah, dude. I thought we were going to experience that. Quick side story, dude. We were, the year that I played, I will say that that was one of the better teams I've played on in my entire life. I mean, we were stacked all the way around. We were at one point the number one team in the country. We just were rolling. And then we get to regionals, and unfortunately, some of the team had partaken in extracurricular activities that were not a part of the team sanction, and they were sent home that night. And we probably lost about 12 players in one night, and we moved forward with about 13 players. And even still, I did not get to play in a game. We only had 13 players, and I still did not get into a game. But yeah, we went from being the number one team to having like no team. So got that kind of taken out. But that
I
definitely
didn't
taught me a lesson. Yeah.
I didn't know
Me,
that.
I wasn't
That's
involved. For people out there listening, I
right.
was not involved in that.
No, I did not know that, but that's crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
crazy. I mean, talk about sending a message. Like outside of baseball, like baseball was not the priority at that time for that coach. Just like you guys
right.
messed up. Here's the consequences. We all agreed that this was the consequences. Doesn't matter what part of the year that we're in. You broke the rules. See you later. Um, so then you got done playing college baseball. Was there ever any inklings of playing professional baseball? Did anybody come knocking? Where do you have any conversations with scouts? Was that the goal, or you never even got there?
Yeah, it was, but like I don't know. Like it's you just didn't hear anything, and you just kind of by time the summer, not the summer, but the probably April your senior year goes around, you haven't talked to any scouts. You probably know it's the dream's probably coming to an end. I actually played my best baseball at Missouri that last month because I knew it was over, and I was just kind of emptying the tank. But no, not. And then did I want to play indie ball? I didn't. Like, to be
Tough
honest, you play
life.
in the SEC. You play in the SEC in front of like 5 to 10,000 fans every night on the road, and at home you had play good, in front of good crowds. Like, why do I want to get on a bus and do the indie ball? Like, I knew I wanted to coach, so like that's where immediately my thoughts were started going, and I did my everything in my power to get that started.
Yeah,
So
yeah. And being a coach, that came from John. I'm taking like your dad. Like he was a baseball coach through and through. I mean, he knew the game well.
right,
He taught me a lot of what I know about the game today.
right,
Or where did that inspiration come from?
a little bit. I think I did say I feel like I had a natural ability to like dissect some things on the field and look at some guys and see guys like take their swings and like know what kind of adjustment they should make. Like not that I was doing that when I was playing, but I just felt like internally I had like a natural ability to see the game from a coach's lens, and I felt like why wouldn't I give it a shot? Plus you're around the game. I think we all want to hang around the game as long as we can. And so I think it was an easy decision for me. And I knew it was going to be hard. Like I didn't make any money my first 3 to 4 years doing this thing. Uh, could have got a normal job and did that. But like, I just kind of was like, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay around the game, see where it takes me. And it's treated me well so far.
Yeah, and then your first school that you went to, how do you even get in touch with that school? That wasn't even a school that you attended.
Yeah.
How do you transition from like being a player to hey, I want to coach? How does that work?
Yeah. So, uh, my now wife, Jessica, she got a job, uh, in Kansas City right when we graduated. So I knew I wanted to live with her, and I knew like there was no Division 1s in Kansas City. Like the closest is Missouri State in Springfield or KU or Wichita State. Um, so I started emailing JUCOs and D2s in the area, like, hey, like I wanted to start. I just fresh out of college, uh, interested in starting my career, and only two coaches got back to me. One was Dodge City Community College,
Dodge
which
City,
I was
baby. I know some dudes from Dodge City.
which I would have to live in the dorms. Like I didn't want to do that as a coach. And then two was William Jewell College, which Mike Stockton, who actually was taught me a lot. And so I got to go. I decided to do that. I was gonna go do it, be a volunteer, strictly only make money off lessons for a year and a half and learn. And that's what I did, and it worked out.
And then from there, well, first off, that's crazy. Like camps, y'all had a bunch of kids coming through, or like how many lessons were you giving, or was it just like bare minimum, like you were just scraping by at that point? Because a lot of people
Bare
want to know,
minimum.
like, yeah, they want to know the
We
coach's lifestyle. Like, I think the
we
raw and grittiness of it.
we were living at her her parents' house, so we're saving money on rent, and I was just making probably $300 to $400 a week on lessons, just trying to pay for gas money and food. And it didn't really change the whole time I was there. We had a couple of camps, but like it was hard, but I also was, trying to be around the game, like be around the office. Like I didn't want to do the thing where you go work all day and then show up for practice and then leave. Like I wanted to be at the office in the morning and like be around, and I wanted to learn. So like I knew that came with sacrifices of financial sacrifices, and I understood that, and I just took that shot and it worked. So
Yeah. Sacrifices, man. They're part of the game, whether you're a player or a coach, whatever it is. And I mean, you're in a good position now. So then you do well there. I mean, I read the report on like how well the team did while you were there. They, hit a bunch. You guys won a bunch of games. Did they just like turn over the hitting to you at that point? Or like, where were you as far as like decision making? How did they infuse you into the game early in your
I think
career?
I was just kind of the younger voice. I think we've all been on a team, or been around like that person. Like, who's that person? Who do I go to if I'm not going to go to the head coach? Who am I going to go to? I was that younger voice that played at a high level, and guys were interested in that, and they were just like kind of bouncing ideas off me, and I would just give my 2 cents. I also was with the outfielder, so like I was managing that, and then kind of learning how to operate offense and the hitting, from a coaching side of things. But I wasn't like the hitting coach at that time, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and then y'all do well there, and then how does the next phase of your coaching go? Like, how do you get these new opportunities? How
Yeah.
do they present themselves?
The next two stops are former coaches of mine that I uh, one emailed and got an email right back and said, "Hey, we have it just got lucky." The incarnate word one was I just got really lucky on the timing of it, and it was the right fit for me, and I got to do it. And then the SIU Southern Illinois was very similar. Like the timing was
So
perfect, and it was a former coach at Missouri who was the head coach, and so I used some of those, that networking, to get there, and I did. I tried my best, because like when you work for your former coach, like you're just like I appreciate you bringing me on. I'm gonna give you my best every single day. So that's what I was doing, and I was both in those situations. I was a GA, so I wasn't making much. Was doing grad school online, like on top of helping when I in every angle that I needed. There's rules like when you're a GA, like as coaching, but there's a lot of things you can do behind the scenes, and that was my role for those stops.
and then you primarily now teach hitting and outfield. Or are you still outfield? And I think I saw you were working with the catchers as well. I see that or no?
One stop at Ohio, I was with the catchers for 1 year, which I actually enjoyed. But yeah,
Yeah.
I did that.
And you grew up as a primary infielder. Obviously, we played, the middle infield together. Then you transitioned to the outfield. Like, talk about what it's like going from outfield to infield. I think outfield gets a bad rap, especially when you're younger, because you feel like the outfield is just a place that they throw people. But as you go up higher in the game, like it's
Yeah.
very, very important. Like every position on the field matters. But
Yeah.
talk through, playing the outfield at a high level.
Yeah, I think my move was this. I didn't have the hands, or the I
Lies.
didn't have it.
Lies. You got good hands. What are you talking about, bro?
I didn't have it in the middle infielder. So I was fast though. So like I think it was a perfect time to make that switch, because I was fast and I was instinctive. Um,
When did you make
I
that
think
switch?
at
You
our
made that switch
level,
in high school?
what was that?
You made that
Yeah,
switch in high school? Yeah.
yeah,
You didn't
in
play a single
sophomore year of high
year?
school.
Sophomore year, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, and then I think at our level, like rarely do people move closer to the baseball. So like rarely do people move from the outfield to the infield. Usually you move guys from the infield to the outfield because there's either they're either hitting, or there's a guy at that position that that's better, and we need the athlete in the lineup. So um, it doesn't give it. It can get a bad rap, but like there's no better. You know, I don't think you have a really speedy, instinctive outfield. Like your ERA goes down. You run, run prevention goes, up because you're just able to track down balls. So it is important, right? But like I do think that the infield is probably the position that we're the most, maybe the more talented hands and feet guys are at this
Definitely,
level. So
definitely. You know, I was fortunate enough to be able to play the infield, but like if you took me and put me in the outfield, like I could probably hold my own, but I wouldn't be elite. I wouldn't have turned into Kirby McGuire. I wouldn't have the instincts to go, track down balls. And if I did, it would take me a long time. Like, how do you train that? What are some things that, kids who are either already in the outfield or transitioning into the outfield need to understand and work on in order to become, SEC D1 caliber, outfielder, or even just a Division One, maybe professional outfielder? Like, what are these things that you see that separates the good ones from the great ones?
yeah, I think the number one, maybe the guys that struggle going out there, you got to run light. When you're running after a ball, your eyes can't be bouncing up and down. That's where mistakes happen. So guys that can glide out there are usually natural. We train that, like, there's a progression that we do here, like where we work on running light with our heads not bouncing. And we do a lot of bare hand stuff that kind of helps with that. So catching
Stop right
a
there.
ball
Stop right there.
barehanded. What's
Sorry,
that?
sorry to cut you off right there. But I didn't want you to just go past. How do you train running, light, gliding? Talking about, I mean, I've never even heard that, so I'd love to expand or
Yeah.
hear you expand on that progression.
So actually, I think I got this from Brian McRae, who um, was a big leaguer with the Royals and Cubs and Mets and for a long time. But we did like a lot of bare hand stuff at Mizzou, where we would drop step and we would catch balls barehanded, because if you're running and you're heavy footed, like you're more, there's a bigger chance that you're going to drop the ball when you're than you have a bare hand. So we did a lot of that. We did the tennis ball stuff. So you're just trying to like track and catch the ball while gliding and running light on your feet. So that's number one. I think the jump is number two. Like some guys, like it takes them a while to get going, and those guys aren't necessarily the best outfielders. Like your first three steps have to be really your best three steps. Like you don't have to be a 7 or a 6'5" runner to track down balls. Like you just have to get out of the chute fast and get going, and you can track down balls. It's so I think those are the two things that we try to train, and then obviously when we go to recruit, like try to watch. Like if a guy's like, and when you're out recruiting and a guy's like catching balls and it looks like he's like about to drop every ball because there's something off there. When a guy's gliding and you can see it, you know what it looks like. He's gliding and he's just like quiet. Those are the guys that are going to be able to be really good outfielders. And plus, the last important tool, the arm, you got to have, be able to throw the ball at least 180 feet. And so that's another thing.
So I knew you had a decent arm. We played together and you had a decent arm. Then I'm getting guys on the podcast who have played with you and they're talking about Kirby McGuire had an absolute rocket launcher. When did you get a freaking rocket launcher attached to your arm?
Who did you have on the pod that said
I
that
had
on this
Deuce
game?
up in here, bro.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said he was saying that you had a
Yeah.
freaking gun out there.
So did he though. So did he. But I don't know, man. I think, to be honest, I think it was once I moved to the outfield, I just focused on long toss every single day, and I was very competitive in everything I was doing. So I wanted, on my high school team, I wanted to be the guy that throws the ball the farthest, like in catch play. Like I was just that guy. So I think just long toss over time, and then I took really good care of my core and my shoulders. Like I never had a shoulder issue, and then I think the core plays a part as well. Like when you're talking about like torquing and throwing a ball, and you were a pitcher, like how it is, like that core strength helps, and so I think there's a lot that goes into it, but I don't know. I definitely developed it, and I think tools can be developed. Like you can, especially when you're in high school, you can still develop tools, especially at 16, 17 years old. So I think that's important. Like for your job, like you know, there's still room for development, like with these guys. and you can still get faster, you still get stronger, you can still have an arm strength that goes up.
What's up, y'all? My apologies. I had some technical difficulties on my end. We are getting back into our conversation. We were talking about some throwing and some outfield stuff, so just going to pick right back up where we started. Yeah, so you were saying that throwing can be developed and that it's something that, high school kids can keep going on and that you developed it yourself. Let's pick up from there.
Yeah, no, it's just there's a lot of different strategies, but to me, long toss and we did bands every day too, Jaeger band stuff, and I think taking care of your body. I think a lot of kids have shoulder and elbow stuff, and then it might be all how you're mismanaging it or whatever. But I just always stayed healthy and I kept getting stronger, so I think it just slowly developed over time.
Now, one of the things that I would have questions on if I moved to the outfield is like the slices and spin and read off the bat. Like, is that just pure repetition out there of like, you're 240 feet away. How do you see the spin? How do you see the slice? How do you train guys for that?
Yeah, I think it's repetition in batting practice. Like, I think there's no better substitution of a rep than getting a ball off the bat in batting practice. Like it it slices, it top spin, back spin, all those things. I also think the corner outfield spots are harder than center field. I think center field is actually the easiest based on the read. You get a truer read, and I think that's kind of common. People talk about that. We do some stuff with some machines where you can manipulate the machine and have it slice and cut and do some stuff. So we do that in the fall, especially here. We'll have the big hack out there and we'll do some stuff. But there's no better substitute getting a live read and some repetition. Um, I've been in some games where the sun also plays a factor, and you don't deal with the sun in the infield. Very rarely does an infielder deal with the sun. The sun is there, and like when you're in right field and it's setting over the third base dugout, that's another element that you just don't think about when you go out there, and it's like, oh, I can barely see, and now I got to try to track this ball. So that's another thing that takes reps and just getting out there and doing it.
Yeah. No, I would be absolutely lost. I would have no clue how to like adjust to that sun. That seems like an absolute nightmare. And then you got to read spin. Oh my god, that would be a absolute nightmare. What about the hitting side of things? So like you talked on the outfield side of things. What about like your hitting approach or your team's hitting approach? Like how do you work with hitters? What are you guys talking about? It seems like from everything that I've read on your kind of journey, you work a lot on just like pitch recognition and approach and things like that. So talk to me about how you work with guys in that matter.
Try to stay simple as possible. In at our level, try to recruit athletic kids that have balance and adjustability, and then teach them how to be on time consistently and then swing at the right pitches. Like I think that's the biggest thing. I was talking to a coach today that works in pro ball, and he's talking about the um, zone swing percentage and the amount of times you swing and miss in the zone is a direct impact to strikeouts, and then that's what pro ball teams are looking at is right now strikeouts. So we really, if you look at our numbers the last 2 years, like we've been one of the better teams in our league and not striking out, and I think it's just being on time consistently in the zone and staying in our zone, and that's if you do that and you have talented people in your building, you're gonna have success. And I think it's pretty simple. Um, there's a lot of mechanics involved as well, as you know. Like you were a hitter, and it's hard, and you go through ups and downs. But the mechanics are kind of the last resort thing for us, especially when you bring in a junior college player or a portal guy. Like those guys know how to hit. It's just putting them in the right spots.
Yeah. I'm very glad I talked to a lot of coaches about this when they come on. Like I'm very glad that you and I were kind of like the last generation to kind of be able to go through baseball without all these tools and analytics right in front of your face. I feel like it overcomplicates things, and for me, like I needed it to be super simple. And even with it being super simple, I still tried to overcomplicate it at some point. Where and like how do you use the tools and technologies? Like I guess my first question would be this: like it seems like in today's world, everything that you see online, whether it's happening inside of like Power Four organizations or Division One colleges or pro ball, is irrelevant because of how much is just thrown in your face online, and it's about hitting the ball in the air, and we don't care if you strike out. Like where is, I guess, your thoughts on that? What are you guys teaching over there at Charleston Southern? And then like where do you think the game is going from this point? Because again, we all understand that a home run with guys on base is much better than like guys hitting singles all day. Get it. Understand it. But, that's not necessarily everybody's game, right? Like, so
Right.
the guys whose game isn't that, they're still trying to play that same game when it's like, you're not Aaron Judge, you're not dudes who are going to leave the yard 40 times a year. So, and then you get teams like the Rays right now who are, absolutely playing the complete opposite game, right? They're just hit the ball on the ground, bunt the ball, create chaos on defense, and win games. And where are they at? Last time I checked, they were at the top of the AL with their standing. So, like, where do you think hitting is right now, and like, where do you think it's going? And do you think that like this new idea of like hit the ball as far as you can every single time and strike out is decent?
Well, I think at our level, like you have to be pretty elite at either spectrum to play pro ball. So like for example, if you're a guy that strikes out 60, 70 times a year, you better be hitting 25 pumps to go and offset that. On the flip side, Tristan Peters, who we had at Southern Illinois, who's an all-star and hit for the cycle this year for the White Sox. He got drafted because he had like 50 walks and like 20 strikeouts his year at Southern Illinois. Like he was elite, played discipline, like did not swing and miss, like did not chase. So I think there's two different types of players that pro teams look at. We try to build an offense that has somewhat both of those type of players in the offense. You can't have 9 guys that just bunt the whole time, like to score runs. Like you're gonna need to have some guys that can leave the yard, and do it when there's guys on base. And you need to have table setters, and you need to have guys that can drive in runs. So I think you need both, but I think when it gets down to it, if you're really consistent and not swinging and missing, then that's when your boppers, if you will, are going to drive in more runs over a course of a long season because they're going to strike out less and they're going to put the ball in play. And when they put the ball in play, those guys are probably putting the ball in play with authority, and it's probably a double or a home run. So I think you got to have both, but I'll be honest, in our program, if you're striking out 40% of the time, you're probably not playing. So we really train it, and we really make it a point of emphasis. Like I know in other programs you might be allowed to do that, but not here. But we do have guys that will swing and miss, but can't have 9 of them. You can't have 9 of those guys
Yeah.
because then you're going to be just all or nothing. And what happens if the wind's blowing in that day? Then you're not going to score.
Yeah.
So I think it's a balance of both, man. And I think even if the Rays, like you mentioned the Rays, like the Rays probably have guys that they're paid to hit the ball of the park too. They just have more balanced table setter guys in the lineup than the Yankees do. Like that's just their strategy. If I looked at it from the surface level.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are you at on like? I feel like bunting gets a bad rap in today's game. I don't know. I love to bunt. That was like the first way that like I was able to actually help produce runs in my own
Right.
career was bunting, sacrificing guys, drag bunting as a lefty, like push bunting, all that stuff, squeezing. Like I just feel like it's just so negative in today's game, and I don't know why. I feel like it's very, very important. I'll turn on the Longhorns game sometimes, and I'll just see the 3-hole hitter laying down a sack bunt beautifully. Like it doesn't take them 7 attempts to bunt the ball. They're just like perfecting it, and they're moving on, and like you don't even think about it because it's just part of the game.
Right.
And now I just feel like there's so many people online being like, "Yo, bunting, like why? Why would you do that? Where are you at on bunting? Yeah, I'll teach it. Is that
So
something that you're making
yeah,
like
no,
three hole hitter? Everybody 1 through 9 that needs to know how to bunt.
yeah. Well, everyone bunts, but like you know, there are guys that need to be good at bunting more than others, right? Like if I'm our leadoff hitter for the last 2 years is named Kane Collins. He was really fast. Like he needed to be able to bunt, and he did, and he was good at it. And he also brought in the third baseman, which opened up the 6 hole for him. And so those are the things that we tell our guys. Do you want your 3 hole bunting, um, first and second, no outs in the first inning? No, I don't think so. I think there's times and places like you're playing the game. The momentum of the game is dictating that. Like if it's a high scoring game and you can tell by how it's going, then bunting is probably not ideal. But if it's a 3-2 game on a Friday night, yeah, you need a bunt. Like you're playing for 1 run. Like I think it just depends on the game situation, but you need to be good at it. Like I think there's teams that don't work on it enough that probably wish they would, and when playoff time comes, they're not able to do it, and they end up losing close games, and that's why.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a dying art, which I hope some kids can kind of bring back because it is again a part of the game and it can be a huge weapon. And I always try to tell kids that if you know how to bunt, like it's very hard to go into a very long slump too when you know how to bunt because
Right.
if you're not hitting the ball and you know how to lay it down, like you can just bust yourself out real quick, and all it takes is standing on first base one time for you to get some confidence back.
I I was the king of maybe I was facing a lefty and I was like I didn't see that ball. Like I'm 1-0, but I did not see the pitch at all. So I'm gonna try to bunt here because I can't
Yeah,
see it. So like I was the king of that. Like I was like I'm just gonna try to get on first base by outrunning something. Like I'm just gonna push it past him.
yeah,
Um, so that's a skill. It's a skill that shoot man. If you're out recruiting and you see a kid do that, like that's that's something you notice,
yeah.
and like you said, it's kind of dying. There's not a lot of that going on anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So talking about recruiting, how do you recruit? What do you guys look for? I'm sure it's the same old, but like, where are you at? Where are you finding kids? What tournaments are you maybe going to? How many kids are you bringing on to the team that have been to team camps? Talk us through kind of your recruiting philosophy and how you are identifying players and getting them to Charleston Southern.
Yeah, I think from a freshman standpoint, you try to recruit locally and you go to the events that you feel like you need to be at. Being in the southeast, it's a lot easier. There's a lot more events. You're 5 hours away from Atlanta, where a lot of games are, you know, held, and then Hoover is not too far as well. Those are two big spots that a lot of tournaments are held. But from a standpoint of what we're looking for and everything like that, I think you have your you have your needs. Everybody needs arms, and then I think everyone needs the middle of the field um, every year. And when I say the middle of the field, it's the shortstop, center field, catcher. Like I think everybody needs that. And then there's the outlier like third baseman, first baseman who can really hit. Um, and then when you see somebody you like that you just like that's a no doubter, then you go get them. If it's like I need to see this guy more, that's when the team camps come in, and then we have camps, and like it's a great tool for I mean not just us but a lot of other schools to get to know the kid, and you get to work with the kid, and you get to meet the parents and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. From a JUCO standpoint, man, like we had, it just depends. Like it's finding the right players that want to be there, and we unfortunately don't have NIL to give. So it's the player that's not necessarily looking for that and or hasn't gotten that. And shoot, man, if you're offensive player, if you look at our numbers the last 2 years, the amount of guys that we've developed or come in here and just been really good players for us, I think it's a big sell. So
Are y'all doing a pretty good job of being able to like keep those guys who are having career years at Charleston Southern? Or are they going on and going on to different schools? And so the reason I ask that is because I know some schools out there are comfortable publicly saying like, hey, if you come to us and you do well, like you can be on your way to another school. I don't know if that's something that you feel comfortable answering. I completely understand if not, but like where I guess my question would then be like, how are y'all keeping guys right now from leaving Charleston Southern?
well, I don't think anybody in the country is keeping anybody at a high rate. um I think you got 5 years now to play 5 seasons, and there's no, you can transfer as much as you want. So I think, to be honest, I think it's the player being comfortable and happy with where he's at. Like if the player is feels like he's loved and being developed, and the academics are great, and he feels at home, then he's going to stay. And I think if there's issues, or and then you can't defend, or you can't do anything about somebody offering somebody $100,000 to go play for you. Like, I mean, we just talked about it. Like, if you're 20 years old and someone offered you $100,000, like,
Gone.
what are you gonna do? It's kind of tough, and so we talk about it. It's a touchy subject, but it's just a game. The college game right now. It
Yeah.
is what it is. Like, it's what's happening. It's everywhere. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Very, very difficult. I'll just leave it at that. Very difficult. What
yeah.
about the overall like sales pitch? Like, why would somebody want to come to Charleston Southern? What is it that you guys offer? Obviously, you guys are having like career years. I mean, last year y'all had, I think I saw the most wins in like a quarter century over there. Like, you guys are turning it around. Obviously, they got a great looking coach in Kirby McGuire over there that's helping with the hitting and the outfield stuff like that. So, like, why would somebody out there, you know, be a good fit for Charleston Southern, or why would Charleston Southern be a good
Yeah.
fit for somebody?
Well, from the pitching side, like, we got two really good pitching coaches. Uh, Carl Coons, our head coach, and he's also, he works with our pitchers, and he spent 16 years at Virginia and won a national championship, and went
Him.
to Omaha 4 times, and so I think from experience, a guy that has coached every talent that you can think of. He's coached first rounders to guys that were maybe walk-ons that end up making it to the big league. So I think you're not going to be short of knowledge and development on the pitching side. And from the offensive side, um, myself and Coach Brett Young, who works with me, we have perfect marriage, a tag team of the offense together, and it's been really special. And we've gotten guys that come in, and we let them be themselves. They play. We have a couple standards. You play the game hard, you compete, but we let you be yourself. And I think we do a lot of things every day that improve each and everyone's game just a little bit. And shoot, man, we've had a lot of guys had career years, and they've walked away from the game. They've walked away from the game just very satisfied with their careers because of how they've conducted themselves here. So I think we've done a really good job so far.
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely. What do parents and players, when they're going through the recruiting process and they're listening to this? I say this on every podcast. I get a lot of parents, um, mainly parents who listen to this podcast. Right, kids aren't listening to podcasts right now, but parents of young baseball players who are going through the recruiting process. That's what this whole NJ Healthy Heat podcast is about, is helping them navigate, giving them an insight into some, conversations at the higher levels of baseball, but also mainly educating them on recruiting and how to navigate that for not only themselves, but their young athlete. Like, what are some things that, they need to understand when going through the recruiting process?
Yeah, well, you know, I think it's not linear. Like, the process is changed every year. Like, we say all the time, like, the amount of rule changes that have happened the last 3 years, it's crazy. And so I think the rule that they just passed, that you can play 5 years. Um, I think everyone just needs to be patient and just worry about their own development, and coaches will find players that are good enough that play at their level, and you will be seen. You will get um, the recognition you deserve if you work hard and you play the game the right way. I think also, from the parent standpoint, I think you've got to be involved with it, but you got to also let the athlete handle the communication, and be transparent with you guys. And I think a lot of times we're talking to the student athlete, we're talking to the high school athlete on the phone. We're not talking to the parents until it's time to maybe do a visit, or get down to offer. So uh, I think it's important to let your kid, ask the questions that he thinks is important, and then kind of come over the top and figure out, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about the situation, finances, the resumes of the coaching staff, stuff like that. So I think you got to have a perfect marriage of both. Like the kids got to make his own decision, but the parents have to be educated, and because most of the time they're paying the bills, and so I think that's a important piece of it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, man, this was a great conversation. I think you dropped a lot of knowledge in here for a lot of people who listen to this. Outfield stuff, hitting stuff, recruiting stuff. I mean, we covered it all here. Is there any last thing that you want to leave to players and parents as far as what Charleston Southern represents, who you are, just overall baseball advice, anything like that?
I mean, I guess just the game is changing, and everybody, just needs to be a little bit more, I guess, patient, and knowing that if you just work hard and you develop, there'll be opportunities for you down the road. There's so many stories that you hear about guys going from Division 3, and like for example, we signed a kid this summer, Division 3, sent me an email with a video, and that's how that started. And we ended up bringing him on because he pitched well in a summer league, a collegiate summer league. And so you never know uh, when your time is. Like, it just depends on the talent of the player and the timing of it all. It's a lot of timing that goes into the recruiting process. So just be patient, and it will all work out. So
Yeah. Let me ask you one more thing while I got you here. Like, I think there's a lot of emphasis on exit velo and bat speed and your 60-yard dash and all of these things, and like they're important, but like kind of put into context how maybe a college views these stats, right? They're not just like, oh, if you hit 100, we'll take you, right? If you run a 6.5, like we'll take you. Like, explain how you guys use these stats and use them to like grade out and rate players on your boards.
they're right. Like it's important to know the metrics, but there's a lot of times where you see the metrics and then you watch the player in person and it doesn't match up. So I think we're using our eyeballs, but we're also using metrics. It's mostly eyeballs, and you got to see it. Matt, you've been around the game a long time. Like what a good player looks like. You know what a good athlete looks like. You know what maybe a 90 arm might be. It's not coming out as maybe good as an 86 arm that has smooth actions, and so there's a lot that goes into it. Like when you're playing in the infield, like you might have the strongest arm, but your glove is not great. Like you're not going to play infield in college. You gotta field the ball cleanly to throw the ball over the first. So there's a lot that goes into it. Good question. I think it's important, but it's not the end all be all for most programs.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people are. I don't know. It just seems like in the space that I'm in right now, it's a lot of like just chase this number, just go, hit the ball this hard, swing the bat this much, and like a lot of things are getting left off the table. Pitch recognition, right? Plate discipline, approach, all of these things. It's so heavily focused on mechanics and less involved on like how we're thinking about the game and like what is the game telling me right now, and then what is the game asking of me to do, right? The game isn't asking me to hit a ball 100 miles an hour to left field. Like there's a runner on second with less than 2 outs and we got to get this guy to third. Like it's either asking me to bunt or to hit the ball behind the guy to move him over. Like that to me is what is almost being lost, because again, we're as a baseball community preaching like we can just change the game with the home run, and we can for the right people, but again, the vast majority of people aren't the people that are going to be doing that. Like I don't know. It just
Yeah, I think
something feels off with me in the game, and like it just that's why I like having these conversations, because I'm just wondering if people else are seeing it or if I'm just like stickler about it and I'm just like maybe not adapting well with like what's happening in the game.
I think
I don't know.
everyone. I mean, we like ball players, and like ball players are defined as guys that are instinctive, that know the game, think the game. There's a clutch factor there. That's where those guys find the way on the field. Like if you're just a max exit velo guy, well then, okay, well, can you hit a curveball? Because if you're the biggest, if you're the guy that hits the ball in the trees in BP, why would I throw you a fastball, in the game? So those are the things that, like, you gotta have multiple things you do well. And I think, to your point, I don't know. I'm not in your world, but if a guy's just focused on exit velo alone, he needs to worry about his defense. Worries about hitting spin or back control or stuff like that as well, to complement his game.
How do you guys? I know I said last, but I'm just
Now, go ahead.
thinking of some things. How do you guys train your hitters? Like, what are you guys doing? How are you guys at the college level? Like, I cannot imagine that you guys are spending much time on like how hard can you hit this ball. Like that all gets taken care of through like weight room, strength and conditioning, all of that stuff. If you guys use water bags, maybe that, and like catching the ball clean on the barrel. Like that's always going to be number one in my opinion. Like
Right.
that's going to produce the highest rate of success. Is like how consistently can we get fat part of barrel on fat part of ball. Not swing the bat super hard. Like I can hit the ball just as hard with an easy swing as I can swinging a million miles an hour, but I only make contact one set of every three swings. So what do you guys focus on, and how are you guys teaching the swing, the approach, all of that?
Yeah. Well, it kind of like I said before, like it's pretty simple. There's two different seasons, like in college baseball. Like there's the competition season, which is in the fall and the spring, and in the winter is when, like, okay, so in the winter, and you played the game. So in the winter is when if you want to improve your exit velo, like the winter is when you do it. Like you're at home, you have a lot more time. You can put the ball on the tee, and you can have the heavy bat, do what you need to do. But when we're in competition, it's more, we're trying to get guys to build an approach and see pitches better. And if they're not hitting a fastball, then we need to worry about like back control. We're not really worried about exit velo stuff. We recruit you try to recruit guys that can do that, right? Like can hit the ball in the trees. Like those are the things that that good athletes do when they get on time. And so I think there's a time and place to do the things that you said, like the training of the bat speed, the strength. Like it's more of the winter. But when we're in competition season, or we're trying to practice and get better, we're worried about some other things. So
Yep. Yep. Good answer. All right. Yeah. Rant over from me. I appreciate you.
yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, again, appreciate you coming on, dude. It's great to see you. I'm excited to follow you guys. I just followed you guys on Instagram. Where can people get in touch with you? How do they reach out to you if somebody comes across this podcast and like, yo, Kirby sounds dope. I want to play for him.
I guess follow my Twitter. I think you could type in my
I'll
name.
put this in the link. Yeah, I'll put this in the description below for everybody.
Yeah, Kirby McGuire 7 on Twitter would probably be the best way. I respond to DMs and stuff. You know,
Yeah. Is that the
kids.
best recruiting tool, you think? Twitter? Twitter's
Yeah,
the number
I
one
mean,
way you watch videos?
some guys use Instagram and stuff. I use Twitter mainly. I think there's a lot of kids out there that they make a Twitter because they're trying to put their recruiting stuff on there, which I think is cool. We use a decent amount. It is a good tool for us for sure.
How you getting a ton of emails too? You in your emails heavily, or
Yeah,
be honest, it's okay.
yeah.
I know coaches who get a ton of emails and it's tough to respond to them. I get it. But where on a balance beam is like Twitter compared to like email for
I
you?
think emails. I think we get more emails like day to day, and then I think we get more Twitter follows. I think the biggest thing from Twitter is, like, when you see something or you see a guy at an event, you go to his Twitter, you find out, okay, you start looking at his Twitter, maybe his phone number's on there, then that's how you get connected. So I think it's a good tool to have. Like if you're playing in a tournament and and a coach likes you, he writes down your name, he can go to your Twitter, see your stuff, see you play for a guy that he might know. Like that's how you. It's a good tool. I would suggest having one. If you're a high schooler trying to get recruited, I think it's a good tool. And clean. Make sure it's clean. Make sure you're not
Yeah, what
retweeting a
goes
bunch
on
of
it? What goes on it? What do they
trash and
need?
stuff. So
What do they need on their Twitter?
um, I would say, like, just I would say, pretty consistent video of their game from the side, from defense. Like, here's another thing: when if you're an infielder, like, very rarely do guys have video of their defense on there. Like, to me, that's like the most important thing. So I know it's harder to have defensive video, but like if you can have defensive video, that's great. But videos, your phone number, your travel organization, your high school. If you post something, maybe tag your high school coach or your travel coach or have his phone number on there, stuff like that. So any way we can like have a resource to reach out to you or your coach, and that's important.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm
Yeah,
glad we talked about those last two things. So that's important stuff too.
absolutely.
Awesome.
I appreciate you having me on, man. It was good catching up.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. To everybody out there, I hope you make it a great day or not. The choice is yours. I will post his stuff below if you want to get in contact with them. And until next time, I appreciate every single one of y'all. If you could do me a favor, if you're still listening to this, hit that subscribe button. I don't make a dollar from this. Nobody makes a dollar from this. This is just trying to spread as much information about baseball as possible. So please like, subscribe, share with other people, whatever you got to do. But I would really appreciate it. Thank you.